Smell of this place is fantastic, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Right, Angus, you know what to do. Clap us in. Welcome along the Whisky Stories podcast with myself, Graham Colgar, and we are not in the Athletic Arms, Angus. We are not in our usual spot, Chuck. We're not down the stairs in Diggers. No, we are.
We're in a pretty big room.
We are in a big room full of casks, full of whiskey. It's the podcast episode I've been waiting for. It is the warehouse episode. And what a warehouse to be in, Angus.
Absolutely.
We are currently standing in what I believe to be the tallest racking system in the Scotch whisky industry, which makes this the tallest racking Scotch whisky warehouse in the world.
That's what we're told. I've not been to them all. I don't know if you guys, but we're definitely the tallest, I'd say, in Europe. The guys who build it, Thistle Systems, it's the biggest they've ever done.
Really?
So,
wow.
Yeah, it's exciting to be part of. We get a lot of questions asked about it. We don't get a plaque from the Guinness Book of Records or anything, sadly. But
we can put up, because first of all, James Zorab, welcome back to the Whisky Stories podcast. You were on
with your other hat on.
With your other hat as an independent bottler, yeah. But you are. What's your title here?
Site Operations Manager is the grand title.
Site Operations Manager, but more importantly, and most importantly, Chuck Kerr's gaffer.
Yes, yeah.
Chuck, as James said today earlier when we walked in, it's bring your podcast to work day. How are you, Chuck?
I'm all right, man. I'm good. Yeah.
Did we get to see you in a completely different light here because this is your workplace?
Yeah.
Quite
so
annoying.
We've actually managed to keep you at work for a couple of hours before you were supposed to leave.
Try to be respectful around the boss.
Well,
you putting this on your timesheet?
It's 8:30 in the morning as we're recording this. It's 8:30 in the morning. Chuck's about to start his shift, but we thought we'd get him in early, get him working. But no, it's great, James. Thank you so much for inviting us along. It's great, and we've been doing quite a little bit of content whilst we've been here. We've already sampled a couple of casks. Just for clarity, it's not 8:30 in the morning.
We had the owner's permission as well.
We did have the owner's permission as well to sample these casks, but it's great. We're in a warehouse now. You mentioned not being able to get a Guinness Book of Records accreditation or plaque or anything like that, but as our discussion on a couple of weeks ago, we did the conversation, Chuck, where it was like the 7 wonders of the whisky world.
Oh right, yeah.
And someone got in touch, I forget the name, I'll need to check it on our Instagram, who works at Glengarry, and we talked about the Glengarry line arm.
All right.
And Ross said, like, the Glengarry line arm is the steepest line arm he's ever seen. He said, well, I wonder if we'll get a World Heritage plaque. I replied saying, maybe not, but if you get a Whisky Stories Heritage plaque, you can have that. So we can try and get you one of them.
What colour would it be?
What colour would you like it to be? We're just making them up as we're going along.
What's a line arm?
It needs to be high vis. So.
What's a line arm?
A line arm is the arm coming off the still.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
Welcome to the Whisky Podcast, I guess.
I will.
Have you done this before?
No, I know.
We were there the other day. We were there. We were talking about it.
I know, but
the steepest line arm he's ever seen.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. We don't have any examples for that here.
No, but this could get one of the 7 wonders of the whisky world if we're in there. As Thistle Racking have said, tallest there. But James, you're the man behind all this. What is it like coming into work every day, walking through the door and going,
Yeah, it's pretty good. Whenever any kind of stress happens, you can just go and get lost in the racking, and you've got the gentle aroma of the cask maturing away to kind of soothe you. It's really, really quiet because there's a lot of sound deadening just from the casks.
Yeah.
So if you love whiskey, it's a lovely place to be. And the temperature's always fairly constant. I think the top, because it's so high, has got a slightly microclimate, I think. Yeah. We can get into that later if you want to.
Well, yeah.
No, it's really good fun. We're based in Rafters in Fife. I live in Leith, so does Chuck. So it's the morning traffic to get here can be maybe a little bit stressful, but as soon as you're here, it just washes away.
Well, they say, I've said it plenty of times that Fife, some of the best barley in the world for making Scotch whisky. But what we're seeing an awful lot more of is Fife being a real hub for whisky maturation, effectively. The bonded warehouses in Fife, not too far away from here. And it's actually, as we were coming in today, it's the first time I've ever seen it from that area. But if you're coming through Cluny, as people who are listening to this, there's the Cluny Bond, which is owned by Diageo. And when you drive past it, when you drive past it, Angus, you just see the entrance and a driveway. And it actually almost looks like a military base or something. You're like, fine well that
little gate.
The gate that you're going through, you're not supposed to go through that gate unless you're supposed to be going into there. I don't know how far the road that you drive in off the road, main road goes, but then it isn't until you turn off at the Kinglassie Junction and you're coming back. If you look to your right as you're heading into Glenrothes, you see Angus. Like, it's just vast.
It is. It's absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, that, you know, we're just in one warehouse, and okay, it's absolutely huge, but they've got dozens of warehouses.
And that's one location in Fife that they've got. If you're driving through to St Andrews and you go past Diageo and Leven and you see that, now that's Diageo. We know it's the biggest in the world, so that probably has the highest volume of whiskey there. But at the same time, there's plenty of other bonded warehouses in the Fife area as well, isn't there?
Yeah, they're all popping up. Obviously, there's dip in some industries leaves vast warehouses open, and if you're not putting racking, if you're palletising, then all you have to do is get certified by HMRC, get the rights fire alarms and stuff, security, and you can just stack your pallets in.
Yeah, because
it's really to be purpose.
a few weeks ago, we were just down the road at Inchdowney, and we went into their warehouse, and that is palletised. That is when casks are sitting upright on pallets on top of each other, stacked up. That's different to what you've got here. So this is, what would you call this?
Well, this is cask racking.
This is cask racking.
Yeah. So you mentioned Thistle racking.
Thistle Systems,
Thistle System, yeah. So they're one of the only. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 companies that specialise in doing this style of racking. Because as we'll show you, as you can see, the casks are on their sides. They're rolled in. Now
this means the access is easier than palletised racking, doesn't it?
Yeah. We've got capacity of about 20,000. We could get more in here if we palletised. Yeah. But we like to try and cater for, if you've got someone with 1 or 2 casks, pride and joy, you've bought them for your kids for when they hit 18 or 21, whatever. We can see both ends of every cask. There's no outward pressure on any casks when it's in the racking. So we can see every aspect of it. Yeah. If you put your cask in a pallet warehouse, obviously not just in them, they all have the benefits, it gets stacked at the back, and you may not be able to see, you know, what's going on with it. If it springs a leak, is it going to get found?
Well, we talked about that when we were there, and we've talked about different racking systems, because of course I think when you look at the racking systems of cask now, you've got dunnage.
Yes.
Dunnage,
which is like your traditional warehousing where you've got kind of dirt on the floor. Usually only about 3 casks on top of each other. Yeah.
And then you've got, like you say, you've got palletised, and then you've got racking, cask racking where they're on their sides like this. And each will have its own benefit. Yeah. And you could look at this and say, from a point of view, yes, in this size of warehouse, you could, from a business point of view, have said we could palletise each one. I think you were talking about, was it 6 per pallet? Yeah. You could stack them high, 5, 6, depending on how high you want to go. But as we talked about the Inchdowney one, I think they said you take into consideration that there will be lossage. There'll be a higher loss rate of liquid from that. But when you're a distillery producing liquid,
millions and millions
of litres, yes, it'll be annoying if you lose some, but it's your liquid that you've lost that you're remaking.
And the advantage of being able to hold more makes the economy of it better.
Whereas if it's me and I own 1 cask and I give it to you guys, and maybe that cask is 25 years old and it's a big pride and joy, once that's gone, it's gone. So maybe having this, but at the same time, we were at the Glenfarclas distillery.
We were.
And they're still...
Everything is dunnage there, or I think apart from 1 or 2 warehouses, but everything is dunnage.
And we've had Chuck, we've had you running around this warehouse today, finding casks, pulling them out, letting us draw samples out of them, going, nah, it's not right. Go and get another one, Chuck. You've been on that forklift, you've been up and down these stairs, everything like that.
It made me work for my time.
Exactly, but being here, I suppose it might have been hard work, but you can imagine it's 4 people to get a cask in and out on a dunnage warehouse. Yeah. If you're suddenly talking about a hogshead, what's a hogshead holding?
250 litres.
And what's that weighing roughly, about 300 kilograms maybe, or maybe longer?
When full about, over 300.
Yeah, so 300 kilograms with liquid sloshing around. It's easy when you can just take a forklift up to an end and get it moved to your forks and taken down.
Yeah, well, I mean, in theory, it would take, with the way we store it, you'd be 13 casks away from where you want to be. Like, for finding a cask, we'd hopefully only have to move at most 13 casks.
But again,
max,
but you can imagine if that's dunnage style.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely.
And you're suddenly saying, right, Chuck, because I think Greg Urquhart, who we've just done a little bit of content with earlier today, was sort of saying that I think he sent you a list of 80
Yeah,
I
that
saw that
just,
pop up.
that just arrived this morning.
80 casks.
Ruined your day, did it?
Well, it's probably going to be a week-long job at least to get it done.
really?
So, I mean, generally speaking, with maybe not so much when you get a delivery from one customer, such as Greg, of 80 cask samples, you're trying to get it done within 5 days and sent off to these people. So, fingers crossed I can get it done for Greg, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you get some leeway with 80 cask samples
Yeah.
once.
And I think, but that's part of the business model as well, because number one, you're not a distillery.
No.
Number two, you have Edinburgh Whisky is a product that is part of the company that you're working for.
Yeah.
But as Chuck's just said, Rare Finds, who we know really, really well, have majority of their casks here. They're a customer.
Yeah.
You've mentioned that there's other individual customers that are storing here. Other bottlers, I'd assume, as well, potentially?
Yeah, all your, probably a lot of them have been on your show.
Yeah.
Some good friends.
Blind
Aspiring bottlers, Blind Summit Whisky.
Yeah.
Have their whisky here. I've heard it's fantastic.
They're big guys there,
One of them is.
One of them.
The other one's not. He's on holiday at the moment, enjoying Palma.
But and then there'll be the distilleries. Do distilleries use this space at all?
Yeah, we've got a few on board. Again, as you mentioned, for them it's about price and how many they can squeeze in. So we'll tend to pick up a little bit of distillery work if they're renovating a warehouse and they need some cask stored. Otherwise, they'll put them in pallets because this amount of steel costs a lot of money.
Yes.
We managed to get ours bought just before the whole Ukraine war, so after that, price jumped even more.
Wow.
Right.
So our storage is, and again, because we had a bit more hands-on service, our storage costs are a little bit higher than a palletized warehouse. We've got fewer casks in the same amount of space.
Yeah.
But
you're
that's with-
as you said, you're a service provider for the whisky industry. So as Chuck was saying there, if it doesn't matter whether, I'd imagine if you're providing a service, it doesn't matter whether I have 5 casks or 500 casks with you. You have to treat me as
Absolutely,
somebody
yeah.
you provide a service for. So if I phone you up and say, right, I've got 5 casks and I need a sample drawn from each one of them so I can just check how good they are and work out whether I'm going to bottle or not, I suppose that just gets added to the list that Chuck has.
Yeah,
to
so
find. Or other people that work. How many other people work here?
I've got a team of 5 altogether. So we've got Scott the foreman, then kind of Kirk works under him, then we've got Curtis just the other side there, just having a dram. He runs the bottling, then there's Chuck and there's John.
Yeah.
Good team, small team. I'd like to add one more, I think. Anyway,
I'm here if you need
warehouses.
me. Here if you need me. I have a lapsed forklift license, which might
get you trained up on the beast.
Well, that's it. Yeah, but right. So.
To be fair, you seemed a bit shaky at the top.
We have been to the top of this already today, and my head for heights wasn't great. But so that's a service that you provide. So in terms of what are you looking at? You've said 5 days, Chuck.
Yeah.
Within 5 days, you're looking to try and turn a sample around for somebody.
Yeah. So that's our kind of promise guarantee that once it comes through the sample request, it's dispatched within 5 working days. Same as regauges.
Yeah. And then when you look at across the industry, would that be does that put you guys in?
Yeah, pretty rapid. From my experience of having to request samples of warehouses, and if you're working in single cask stuff, as you guys know, if you're doing a finish, that can change in a month's time. So if you put a sample request in and you get it a month later, you go, great, okay, this is great. When can I get it out? And you can't get it out for another 6 weeks. Then how dramatically has that changed? So we want to try and cater to people that need rapid responses.
You're like the 7th emergency service then, basically.
I've got blue lights on my car and stuff.
Yeah, and on the forklift, there's blue lights on that forklift. Does Chuck just get in the forklift and go, Nino, Nino?
He's got special hat and everything,
Yeah, they gave me that.
Right. What's Chuck, what do you think, from your own mind in here, is I'm not going to say most expensive, but valuable cask that you think you've moved in here when you've gone, right, I need to get this cask down and move it around?
Moved some stock from the 70s and
Really?
those kind of things. I can't say a particular, for me, I get really pumped about moving just unusual casks that when they see. So we've got some really cool rum cask maturations that are going on. Might not be the oldest stock in the world, but I think that's really awesome. And then some distilleries that you wouldn't expect to see pop up now and then.
Yeah.
Close distilleries or mothballed or even just liquid that you wouldn't see too much as an independent. Or, I mean, a guy had 2 casks arrive. I just like couldn't believe, like, well-aged whiskey from 2 distilleries I really, really respect. One of them from a time period I was like, in particular, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's just a guy living a way better life than me.
Because this is the thing, is people acquire casks.
Yeah.
Now, we could, I don't think we will, go down the rabbit hole of cask brokerage in terms of what we've seen in the past and stuff like that.
Well, I was going to say, if we're talking about investments, the Rackens really go up in value.
That's where you want to put your money. Instead of putting money into cask, put it
into steel.
Put it in the cask racking systems, because I'd imagine there's a pretty penny involved in them.
It's not, no one likes talking about it, the investment world, but we've noticed a real uptick because the rules in Wooga changed.
Yes.
And we are able to open, well, from day one we've been doing it anyway, opening accounts for people that have 1 cask, and they get full control and stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, we could talk about that side of it, I suppose, because the interesting thing is, like, yes, 2025 has seen a massive swing in cask ownership, right? Myself included, I have a few casks. I think Chuck was just talking about my cask there that arrived there, about the age stuff, just a guy living a bit of life.
I definitely was not.
But he was talking about this kind of knackered ones at the back.
The empty ones.
Just full of iron brew. But basically, previously you mentioned Wooga. Okay, now for people listening to this who have maybe gone down the route of investing in casks or owning their own casks, or even people who work in the industry, Wooga then, what did that stand for? Is it warehouse owners?
Warehouse keepers and owners of warehouse goods and regulations.
There you go. Right.
Rolls off the tongue.
So now, to be able to be the official owner of a cask of whiskey, you used to have a Wooga.
Sort of. It's if you're a revenue trader, so if your business was making money out of whiskey, then you need to be up with the Wooga regulations.
Right.
So individuals could always own. And then there was this myth going around that it was nowhere based written down, but it just circulated that 5 casks maximum you can have.
Oh, really?
After that. But the way I think it is viewed is that it's an asset. So it's like saying you can only own 10 high-end paintings, you know. If you are just putting your money into it, then you're not a revenue trader. If you start selling it to make money, then the area becomes a little grey.
So to hold a Wooga, did you have to have a limited company to be able to get a Wooga?
Yeah, only
from
limited
HMRC?
companies, yeah.
Yeah, because this is, I mean, the documentary that came out in February this year, which really triggered the sort of knock-on effect, which has led to effectively the arse collapsing out of this industry of people flogging your cask, etc., etc., etc. But one of the things that people talked about was being like, no. When people actually did dive into it, you got a certificate of ownership from these companies that said, you, Graham Cogar, own this particular certificate. But when you actually looked into who owned the whiskey, then you found out, to your horror, actually you don't own the whiskey, you own a certificate. That's all you own, and you're in an unregulated market, and you don't actually own the whiskey.
The warehouse has no visibility on
Correct.
the end
So
owner.
if someone's storing a cask here under those rules, if I was to phone you directly and say, hi, I'm Graham Cogar, I've got one of your casks, what's the cask number? You wouldn't be able to give me all the information for all the GDPR stuff. But if I gave you the cask number, all you could say is, no, you don't own that.
I could tell you if the cask is here or not.
If you said the cask here, and if I said, yeah, I'm the owner of it.
I'll say, well, not according to me.
Yes, so that was when people
Please
were really...
contact the person you bought it from.
Yeah, and people would start going, oh shit, what am I doing here? You contact this person, they tie you in the whole thing. Oh, listen, you're going to need a Wooga. To get a Wooga, you need a limited company, you need to be a registered trader, you need to go through HMRC, you need to fill out all this paperwork. Don't worry, you own it, but we are the custodians of the cask for you. Now, as you've said, that all changed in January. Was it March time? Was it? March, yeah. So that's all changed now. And what you need now, am I right in saying, is basically an account with a bonded warehouse?
A warehouse, that'll open an account for individuals, yeah.
Which you said you guys have been doing that from scratch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas other warehouses have actually been very,
selective. Yeah.
You have to be within the industry. I suppose space is a premium.
Yeah, and it's a case of people are used to dealing with companies, one accounts department, and individuals with 2 casks are more needy than a company with 1,000.
Correct.
Because they just want to store them, and if they need a sample, they need a sample. But there's a lot more questions that come from people who are just dipping their toe in.
Absolutely. So now, So you just need an account and then a delivery order. Is that correct?
From the cellar, yeah. Delivery order is, again, it's got no real place in legislation, but it's just a tradition. It got scrapped in 2006, but it's a notice issued by the seller, given to the buyer, who countersigns it. It's given to the warehouse keeper, and it just says this cask has changed hands between through sale.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's not a legal document.
No. So that's it now. So, so all these people, because there has been, I mean, I know that there's still a lot going on with if there's people are certainly going, wait, hang on a minute, where's my casks? And they're asking questions, and there's some horror stories, as we've heard, you know, people putting all their life savings, I guess, into
absolutely, yeah. And
but now, you know, thankfully there's a lot of people who are, and you guys are available for that.
Yeah.
So again, if there was somebody who's listening or watching this thinking, I've been through that, they just need to pick up the phone to you guys or find the Lowland Bond, reach out by email.
Yeah.
And then once your cask here,
you can come and visit. You can not quite what you guys are doing, but
but then
dipping into casks. But you come down and visit.
Every 2 weeks, just get Chuck to draw your sample. And you'll get one in 5 days.
Caress your cask.
Yeah.
if you need some tasting notes, Chuck will knock them up for you.
Chuck's good at the tasting notes there. But yeah, because
and
it's a big thing. I mean, as I've said before, I'll say it again. Warehouses do make me horny, and I have to say, like, I've been. There is something nice, and I would have said, I think it's 2 years ago. Before we started this, I would have said all the magic happens in the warehouse.
In maturation, yeah. Because this is interesting. I was speaking to somebody at work today about the tasting we'd been to on Friday, and they said, I was talking about finishes, and they said, but how important is the maturation? How important is the distillery? And I said, you'll never find anybody in the industry that agrees. From my, you know, interactions is, you know, people in production will say, oh, it's all in the spirit. People in warehouses, oh, it's all in the wood. Good wood's the answer. And, you know, people will say it's 60-40, it's 40-60.
80-20 is what?
80-20, exactly. So there's no kind of agreed logic as far as I can see about, I mean, people have their own opinions, I think, but about how important maturation is, how important distillery character, the spirit, initial spirit is. It's just one of those, you know, like I said, in warehouses, it's just where some of the magic happens, but how much of it?
I think it's like every step is important. You can't
do it
mask
without
bad
it.
spirit with good wood.
Yeah.
And taking great spirit, put it into bad wood, then
you're going to have a bad
nothing's
answer.
going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think
they go hand in hand.
I don't really trust when people start putting percentages on it. 70% is the cask. It's like, well, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make
exactly.
Because like you say, sourcing your casks. We've heard so many people on the podcast talking about like the challenge now is finding really, really good conditioned wood that you're buying it from. You have the big industries, like you have your Edrington, your Diageo, and you know, all the bigger producers of whiskey they can go into Jerez and go over to the States and probably command a fair amount of control over, like, we bring that in. That filters all the way down to the next level of distillery, to the next level, to the next level, and then to the independent bottlers. I mean, don't get me wrong, there'll be independent bottlers that have, well, Gordon MacPhail, we heard Stephen Rankin talking about the supply of wood that Gordon MacPhail have had for generations is what they strive on.
Yeah.
But you're an independent bottler as well. You probably deal with other independent bottlers. Outside, you've got casks sitting there that are empty, so managing wood is also part of your job, I'd imagine.
Yeah. It was, I think people think casks might just last forever. You know, if you get them delivered, put them outside, use them in a year's time or something. But we like to try and encourage people to do this kind of just in time, as in get your cask landed when you want the operations to happen, get them filled when they're still wet. We kind of have a policy is you make sure there's no traveling liquid in the cask, you empty it out, so that it's the wood that does the talking, without huge amounts of traveling sherry sort of stuck in there. But yeah, a cask will degrade. It's living, breathing things.
Yeah, because I mean, it's sitting outside is not going to, in the weather, is not going to do.
It's not exactly, you know, Dubai out there, but
No.
you get a week's hot spell, and that you can get the seams opening right up, especially on the heads.
Yeah.
So when it's the brief kind of summer spells we get here, we're outside with the sprinklers, just trying to keep everyone's casks wet. But we tend to tell people that if you're doing a re-racking job and you're putting your refills outside, if you don't use them within 6 months, they're going to be knackered. We store them for free for that amount of time, and after that, we're like, look, you need to move them, or we'll sell them to a garden centre.
Because it's a balancing act, isn't it? And I suppose it goes back to what you were talking about there. It's like, I love the fact that there's just so many happy accidents in Scotch whisky that produces this as to quote Keith for Keith,
Brewing liquid.
brewing liquid that you get, and it's like, you know, take one step away, take one tiny little bit away, and it just will not be the same as what you're getting here. So, as we're saying, yes, some people will tell you the magic happens in the way that's where it all goes on, but there's so many different caveats to that.
It's also just the consistent inconsistencies that are fantastic as well.
Well,
you can get 2 sister casks in here, exact same maturation, exact same fill date, and one of them's incredible, one of them's okay, and you can get the complete opposite as well. So it's,
Well, we've had that. I guess. Megan
exactly.
Murdoch
Megan
brought
Murdoch.
2 casks from Glenwivis.
They were filled on the same day, filled into the same type of wood. Casks that come from the exact same place.
Sat beside each other.
Sat beside each other in the warehouse, and she had a sample of one, a sample of other. And
she gave us them blind.
Told us, well, this is what I mean.
Yeah.
She'd had 2, told it blind, and you would never have guessed that they had come from effectively the same cask, just sitting in next to each other in the warehouse, because completely different things had gone on.
And that must be a
to the
challenge.
spirit.
See, when you're re-gauging, so talk us through re-gauging, what does that mean?
It's essentially just finding out how much liquid's in the cask and its alcoholic content, really. There's kind of 2 different types you do. It's a dip, the old-fashioned way, which is basically literally a meter stick with some markings on it. And then there's a gross tear, where you dump all the whiskey out, weigh the cask, and then fill it back up again, weigh it again.
Yeah, all these ones behind us, they've all been tared and weighed. So on the end,
they've had the liquid poured out, weighed, put back in again.
No,
these
are
are actually
new
just
fills.
been filled today. So on one end of the cask, I've written in chalk, or John's written in chalk, you've got your tear weight, which was the weight of the vessel, and then as we filled it, we've taken a new weight, and that's written on. And
So because that's the other thing is, cause you'll be able to work out your evaporation levels and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, it's more figuring out your litres as well. So we've taken the ABV, the alcohol intensity, and then using the weight, you can figure out the exact amount of liquid that's gone in. When you're using a dip, it is accurate to a certain degree. I think would be right in saying.
Hefty margin of error, yeah. So you use ullage tables from HMRC.
Ullage tables.
So it's.
I've never heard the word ullage before.
You've got, I think ullage means like kind of missing or wastage or something.
Yeah.
So you've got your wet dip, which is where the liquid level.
Yep.
Your dry dip, which is just on the side of the bung. So you'll take your wet dip, divide it by your dry dip. That gives you.
It's like a whiskey
a
BMI.
percentage, and then that you go to the ullage tables and you find closest to where yours is. You go across, and HMRC give you a percent full, and that's based off the percent full. A cask of that size is. So when you go for a butt, you generally say 500 litres. A hogshead 250, but as you know, being made by Coopers, not everything's exactly the
So there's
same.
going to be a bit of ullage in there.
So it's going to be So it's quick. It's cheaper to do. So it's just it's much more old-fashioned, but really accurate. So everything that comes in, we give it a free dip, just so we know it starts its life here.
And how do you work out the ABV then?
Well,
So
you can tell.
Well, we've got an Anton Par, which can take. It's an electronic device. It can take a small sample, and that'll give us an alcohol reading. And then
Was it just something you dip in and it
yeah,
beeps and says 50%?
So that gives
sucks up a wee bit. You've got a plunger.
Right.
Yeah, so that gives us a fairly consistently accurate one. And then I'm blanking on the name. I've got nervous.
We use hydrometers.
Thank you.
Hydrometer,
Yeah. So
That's the official way. So
So that just
when you have
balances
to
in the
report
does that balance
everything-
in the liquid, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it's like you've got a weighted sort of belt at the bottom, then it's almost like a thermometer stem.
Yeah, that's right.
And depending on the density of the liquid, it floats at different heights, and then you take a reading off that. Then you use the temperature, and then you've got your alcohol tables, which you find your.
That's all very technical.
But something like that would be no use because we went once to a Glen Scotia tasting, and they said, old Glen Scotia, you could set a teaspoon up in it, so that would be no use in that,
mud. It's a slow way to do it. You have to take quite a bit of liquid out of the cask to do it. So the Anton Par is really handy.
Just electrical piece of kit.
But there's a margin of error in that, whereas if you're reporting to HMRC, we use the hydrometers because that's the scientific kind of accurate way. You can buy a really expensive Anton Par, which sits on a desktop, and We saw one at Inchderny and I got really excited about it.
Is that what
The bit I disappeared off, it's in that control room. You guys all left and I was just chatting to the operator about the Anton Par.
So it's interesting in that in this whiskey industry, you've got these new technical instruments, but yet you've got the old ones as well, and they still serve a purpose. They're still used, which is an interesting thing because in some degree you could just get rid of using that and just use the kind
it's
of
a fail-safe against. If the end of the world happens, we can still re-gauge with the hydrometers. But the Anton Par, you need to put batteries in that.
Oh, thank God.
Yes.
Because if the end of the world was here and we still had whiskey,
and you need to check your ABV.
We need to check that. That'd be great. But what I would wonder on that front, as Angus is sort of saying, is like, is there a qualification that you can get in whiskey warehousing? Because we've heard about coopering, and I think it was Stephen Woodcock talked about
the apprentices.
It's like a 9-year apprenticeship becoming a cooper, right? Because you literally, no matter how much automation happens in the whiskey industry, a cask will always have to be made by hand, and also
you can't 3D print one.
No, you can't. But a good cooper, that's what it takes. Is they'll say, is like a good cooper can look at staves and know what staves will match with each other, marry them together, put them in a cask, fill it with liquid, and it won't leak. Right? It's not an IKEA. Pull the instruction manual out and take that A1 and put it beside A2 or whatever. It's genuinely some of it is
no Allen keys are used.
No, exactly. Just a big hammer. But is there anything for warehousing, like to learn how to use ullage tables and how to use hydrometers and all these different things, or is it just a case of you learn from the guy that explained it to you?
Yeah, I think it is. It's that kind of knowledge that's passed down. Not from father son. Woody taught me a lot. Woody from Woodrow's. He's a bit
taught you how to lick casks.
Yeah. I haven't quite mastered it yet though. Getting a lot of splinters. But you can do courses. One done by the British Warehousing Association, but that's all to do with legislation and the EMCS system and things. But you just have to rely on the older heads passing it on to the new guys, and you learn shortcuts to make things easier. But yeah, it's just passing it on the job.
Well, because cask, this is what I couldn't get my head around, the fact that when we went to Glenfarclas and Glenmurray even, and you look at the volume that they're producing, you look at the brands that they are, global brands, you look at the value and worth that those companies have.
Sure. And
Glenfarclas, Glenmurray, both travel around the world as brands that stand on their own, and then other brands associated with them as well, like Cutty Sark and stuff. So
absolutely,
huge company. And yet, you walk into their warehouse and they'll say, we still roll casks. A cask still gets rolled up, and dunnage. So you're literally, and they'll still say it takes 4 men, 4 warehouse operators, I should say, to roll a cask up a ramp on top of other casks. Now, this is slightly different, but as we saw earlier, Chuck just gloriously rolling a cask down a warehouse floor. Right. There are certain things that just can't be done any other way, and that is the way that. And there's something really nice about the fact that it doesn't matter. 200 years ago, all right, they didn't have big metal racking systems that go this high. They didn't have some of the forklifts that you've got. But at the end of the day, 200 years on, you're still rolling casks.
I mean, we've had days here. We've had 150 casks arrive. And I've been really wishing they'd developed something that and we're rolling them all the way down the full length like this, so we can get them all dipped and checked and re-racked, ABVs taken, and then all racked away. So it does generally take us 3 people with the machine you've got to time the casks, place it, and then get it up in the racking, and they've got to make sure the timing's right as well when it gets into the racking. So
timing then, because that's the other thing is, I suppose, as you were saying, James, is you learn as you go, but you probably also learn from other people's mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm looking at every single one of your casks right now that I can see, and the bunghole is always facing up the way.
Yeah.
And then that seems
the coding that the boys have put up here.
Yeah. Right.
That's a secret code.
Aye, because, so what I can see is BRQ, 5T, 25T, 15A, 20A, BU, 20P?
Yeah.
Right.
Translate that, Chuck.
BRQ means very.
BRG.
BRG, is that BRG?
BRQ is
BRQ is
got that bit right.
Nailed it.
And then you've got your timings So 20A is 20 away, BU is bung up, and then 20P is 20 past. So
Right.
Like
You're
clock face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
So you're saying timings, right?
Yeah.
Go and just simplify this. Do you look at the so when you're rolling them in? Because how many deep are you in there?
that said of about 13 or 14.
So you've got 14 casks in, and you've got to roll those casks in. So
Yeah.
the thing is, if you're rolling a cask in and you're doing it 13, 14 times, you've got to make sure that every time you roll a cask in there, it goes all the way, rolls to the back,
And it is
and finishes with a bung up.
Yeah.
That's a science. That's an art in itself then. So
yeah.
how do you do that?
So generally speaking, if you're using the same size of barrels, I mean, if you're using casks or barriques or hogsheads, you want to consistently use the same size, and then you've got a vaguely consistent time. Your bung would be that is what the timing refers to. So if it's 20 away, your bung is 20 minutes away from the racking.
So that's at 20 past.
So at
Yeah.
20 past when it goes in, and
No,
then
20 past what?
It'd be 22.
22.
So it goes what? So if you're going all
Oh,
the
you're
way
20
in-
away, so it's,
So that
yeah.
that is
22.
That is, so we're going away from the racking, so we're going this way.
So you're coming towards us.
Yeah.
Right.
So 20 away from the racking, then roll that in, and then your next one would generally be 20 minutes faster. So the next one would be bung up. So the bung would be facing straight to the sky, and that would then roll in, and that in theory would be bang on the money as well.
That's based off like the
So-
centre line and that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so,
that's going
the
for the center line
position
again.
the position moves 20 minutes per cask effectively.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that, hopefully. Sometimes I mean, again, casts are not all completely
Yeah.
consistent, so you can be
I'm
off
still
a
quite
little
lost here, right? So talk me through. If you go on the forklift, right, you'll get your cask on the forks.
bit. I could
Do
show
you then have to get off the forklift to then?
So there's three of us there. So I'm generally the guy, if we're putting stuff away just now, I'm generally the guy doing the timing.
You're a timer.
I'm a timer.
Right.
So we've got a butt right here. So
Right.
I'll show you. So at the moment, this butt is sitting at
5 past.
well, yeah,
No, yeah.
If you want to be really stingy about it, yeah.
Yeah.
Aye, 5 away.
So that's 5 away. 5 past.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Set at 5 past the hour. Okay. Right.
Okay.
I think it's more
Well,
about. I
bear
mean,
in mind, there's people listening to this, not just watching it. So we've got.
I
we've got
arguing
this-
over minutes about
I
it.
think
I was
that's-
just gonna say-
I was going to say, I think that's about 2 minutes past, Graham, if we're
Okay,
being
I was
honest.
just going to
Ah,
say.
but if you're 5 past, you're going to be early. Right.
I'm so glad you guys don't work here. I was going to call that bung up.
Right,
For
bung
the
up,
sake
right?
of-
So we're bunging up, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
bung up, right? Okay,
Right,
so that's
aye.
set at, that's bang on the hour.
Yeah, let's say that.
Okay, so for argument's sake, that one's at 5 past. All right.
Yeah,
You're
sure.
right. Okay, cool.
Aye.
We're
So
fine too.
yeah.
Well, depending on which side you're standing on. Right.
So if you're, so the first one goes in at that. I'll just move this just now. So which was so?
Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
your first one goes in.
So
say-
just for the benefit of anyone listening, Chuck's just rolled this cast to face in as it would go in.
yeah.
So that's
and
now,
I would say now that's bung up.
that's bung up. That's midday.
Aye, that's 12 noon.
That's high noon.
I'm so glad you guys are pleased. So right, so bung up. We've all agreed on that.
Right.
Yep.
So the first one would go in at that. Then your next one would go in.
And so now you know that if you roll that all the way to the end,
yeah.
that is going to end up at the bung up like that.
Yeah, it should do.
How? Like how do you?
Just from trial
Experience.
and error.
Yeah, just literally. So
Like,
Yeah.
if you
in
so
the-
then, and then if you're putting the second one up now,
Yeah.
you would then line that up 20 minutes slower.
Yeah.
So 20 minutes
So it'd be
back towards you, away. 20 minutes away.
yeah.
20 away.
Yes.
But the bung 20 minutes away from the racking.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're 20 past if you're doing it like that.
Yeah.
And then you lift that, roll it, and that'll roll, and the bung will be up.
Well, generally, yeah, you kind of have to. These butts are maybe the worst example because they're like an absolute.
They're massive,
nightmare.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
these are about
huge.
530 kilos.
And you shifted that quite well, Chuck.
Yeah, I was going
Thanks.
to say, just
He's a
effortlessly.
strong laddie.
But then you have to time it by effectively
Time it,
doing a
so-
bit of that.
You shuggle. Yeah.
So doing a bit of that means you're
So you're pushing down on one side and then pulling up, and then you're rotating the cask a small amount.
so there's an art to
Yeah.
God,
so that's the
Chuck,
whole
what
thing.
talent.
So like the first week, the forearms are absolutely destroyed. I'll tell you that.
I mean, I'd love to spend a week here.
You're a talented man, Chuck.
Thank you.
So now that's sitting roughly about quarter past.
I mean,
No, it's 10 past.
10 past.
Yeah.
What's a
Quarter past would be bang on 45 degrees.
again, just to
Graham.
say, if you both worked here, I don't think we'd ever get anything done.
What's
No,
that?
it'd just be you.
It would
talking
just be
about-
me and Graham arguing about
That-
5 minutes between pals away.
That's 11 minutes past if I've ever seen it. So
Exactly.
no, that's 12, you fool.
12 and a half.
In terms of costing wise, then, I don't know how much you can dive into that, but I'm sure if anyone was to phone you and ask, obviously it'll depend. I'd imagine prices will vary depending on cask size, cask volume, and length of time. I mean, your dream scenario, I suppose, if you're a bonded warehouse, is a distiller comes to you and goes, I've got 5,000 casks, I want to shut the door and forget about for 5 years, and I'm not even going to think about them until they're 5 years old. Does that happen very often?
Not with us.
Right.
We've got people who, I got a call from someone today, the company they've stolen the cask with has said, we're all going to deal with big fish now. All the small fries have to get out. Desperately looking for somebody to store his casks, like, send them in. There's some people doing renovations on their warehouse, so they need casks out for like, a year.
Yeah.
We get tankers in here ourselves, we fill them off. The dream scenario is that tanker comes in, new mate goes into wood, stays here for 10 years, we bottle it for someone, and it goes out in glass. That's
That's a dream.
That's what we want to do as a business.
Yeah.
Because of course you bottle here as well, and you bottle for customers.
Yeah, we do small batch,
you
single
offer
cask.
that as a service.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rare find being one of them. Now, but what are we looking like? Because if someone's listening to this and go, how much does it cost to store the cask?
So if you have your own insurance policy, it's £1 a week for hogsheads, barrels, small format, and then it's £2. Sorry, £1.50 for butts.
And what about if you don't? So I mean,
If you're using our insurance policy, you just doubled.
so you could provide the insurance.
Yeah,
policy.
yeah. So
if I
£104 a year.
So £104 a year.
Yeah,
For one cask,
for one cask.
which doesn't sound unreasonable whatsoever. There'll be cost obviously for trucks' time to go and get your samples, I suppose, as well.
But I guess as
Yeah.
well, I mean,
Yeah. So how much? If I phoned you and said, right, these are re-gauge, or does that vary on the game?
Dip regauge is, I think, 30, 35. A gross tear, because it's more labour intensive, 75. I mean, it's fairly kind of standardish across the industry, kind of service charges.
Good
So
money,
our samples are, it's £50 per sample.
Right.
Size of the sample doesn't matter, because it's your liquid, we don't charge you more. If it's for personal reasons,
You've got to be careful for duty and everything. haven't
or
you?
commercial, then you have to pay duty on it. If
Yeah.
it's for analytical purposes only, then it's duty free.
Yeah.
And the rule is if you don't finish it, you have to send it back to me or prove that you've destroyed it. That is the waiver you have to sign.
Really?
Yeah.
So basically, someone could order like, I don't know, 70 cl
Yeah, a 70 CL duty sample.
duty sample.
Duty-free, yeah.
Duty free, no, but
do you get people sending you videos of them pouring it down the sink?
have you ever had any sort
Yeah,
of
yes,
prove
people
that-
just
yeah.
throwing it off the Forth Road Bridge, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Please destroy your samples responsibly. Have you ever had anyone sending a sample back?
People have been very diligent in their quality control,
Yeah.
so it all
You
goes.
can surely all eat the drink,
Yeah.
every drop. I mean, in terms of, and again, without having to go, you've got to be careful with, because you have other clients here, so you can't be telling people, oh, we've got this, that, the next thing. But in terms of like aged stock, do you have an indication of like what the oldest cask that you have in here right now is?
1964.
I think I might have tried that.
I
think
we got a couple.
Would that have been something that was on a tasting that was delivered?
If it was distilled in 1964, then
It was, yeah, it was.
There's a few casks.
I've heard it was good. I'm not.
It was a cracking dram.
It's good.
Everyone thinks I just try every single dram
Well,
that
this
passes
is-
through the doors.
this is the other
But I'm
thing.
just like, it's tempting to. When I was in a previous role, and I met someone who was doing my job, I asked him about how do you not just want to stick your nose in everything. And it's like you just have to look at like brown liquids. If you start obsessing over every.
Well, this is
cask,
it. If a tanker comes when you make, you're not going to try everything.
well, we do try every tanker. We keep a control sample
Oh, right.
to make sure it's like the last one.
Yeah.
And I was like, surely if Diageo make a dud batch of Ben Rinnis, they'll probably send it to us. Get rid of it. But it's the complete opposite. They can mask that, whereas they want to make sure we're getting consistent, good quality product. It's essential for them that we assess it and go, like, yeah, this is the same, or this is up to scratch.
So when you talk about filling, are you filling for other people or are you filling for yourselves?
Both.
Both.
We buy tankers directly, and we.
What's a tanker load?
About 30,000 litres. Generally, they can be less. Generally, all around about 70%.
So buying tanker loads, and of course, the thing about buying a tanker load of new make is you need to have something to put it in.
Yeah.
And the problem you've got as well is like when you look at, so what's a, I think we were at that tasting on last Friday as we're recording this. Greg did a great tasting for Rare Find at Scotch Balmoral.
Yeah.
And we had a really nice time there. Some cracking whisky, as I've already sort of said there. But Greg talked about the pricing of wood at the moment and how it's coming down now. But there were stories of, I mean, what was an American?
£220 or £250.
Bourbon barrel.
Yeah,
They were getting up towards 300 at one point.
Yeah, Greg kind of said he didn't think they ever got to 300, but there was certainly the threat of 300 at some point.
So you could suddenly imagine if you got 33,000 litres, that's a hell of a lot of hogsheads that you've got to fill that with. If it's just hogsheads you put it in,
Yeah.
you suddenly look on top and you sort of sherry. What would a sherry butt be costing now, roughly?
Top quality one, maybe 1,200 quid.
1,200 quid. I mean, I'm not even going to be able to do the maths very quickly, but 33,000 litres going into 500 litres. You still need a hell of a lot of those.
Yeah, I think a tank's about 60 bucks.
60 bucks. So you still look at that, and that then in itself, that's tied up for years because you're not going to get a return unless you sell it to somebody else. But you're not going to get a return on that for a very, very long time.
And a lot of people, in my experience, if you say, "Oh, we put it into this amazing wood," they go, "Well, I don't really see that as the value because it's still new make you're selling me." So it's.
People look at new make and go, "Oh, it's not whiskey yet." But I suppose that's the short-term way of looking at it. If you suddenly said, if you knew the distillery, right, I've got new make from this distillery that I can guarantee has gone into some of the top wood that you can get your hands on at this level, it's probably a bargain because you're probably looking at going, or you're going to be spending, if you were to put two of the casks side by side, saying this is 3-year-old whiskey and a standard bit of wood. People would probably be more drawn to that because it's whiskey now.
Yeah.
It's not new make. New make, you've got to wait 3 years before you can call it whiskey.
Absolutely.
Drawing samples out of casks of new make isn't any fun. Drawing samples out of casks of whiskey is fun.
Aye.
So I suppose, there's that element. But from an investment point of view into the liquid, if you're suddenly saying, well, that's only going to get really, 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 really good.
Yeah.
And keep getting good.
I think people have the tendency to get a bit overexcited when they get, if it's a small company buying their first ever tanker, they get overexcited, like everything first fill sherry. But put half into decent quality refill, like Hoggies. We get a really good supply from a distillery. I can't mention the name, but they're really good quality. They get them made themselves. They use them a few times. Then we use them, and we get some really good results from that. We get some dechar rechars in from Lowland Group, which are fantastic.
Yeah.
And then
is that empty, or you're talking, or full of
empty?
Empty,
So just wood. And then a few first fill bourbons, get some sherries in there as well, some rums, just spread it around. And then you've got opportunity if the refills aren't doing enough to it, then you can upgrade them, or if the sherries are going too powerful, then you can do kind of swap out.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's an art to how you deal with a whole tanker. If your business isn't just massive blends.
And would you? I mean, from what you've already said, and I suppose it's entirely up to yourself. And I don't know I don't know if you can legally, without having the right insurance and paperwork, call yourself a whiskey consultant. But from what you've just said, I'm just thinking to myself, like, Angus and I have come through the door. We've met you for the very first time, and we've said, we've got cash, and we are going to get some tankers, and we're going to start doing this. Would you would you be able to tell us, listen, lads, like what you've just said there, if I'm suddenly saying, it's got to be first fill sherry, I've got a guy over in Hereford that's going to send them all over, we're going to stick 30,000 litres, all our cash into that, are you going to say, cool, if that's what you want to do it, or is it a case of us coming to you saying, well, how would you do it, James?
If you said it's all going to first fill sherry, and it's your first foray into this, I might just be like, all first, okay. Then maybe
that's interesting.
Maybe keep a little bit back or something, just because you don't know how it's going to react with the wood and overpower it. But
You said
I've always been one for not giving my opinion unless it's asked for.
Yeah,
of course.
Chuck, how would you tell us? I mean, James has given us a really nice, polite business sort of thing. Oh, right, okay. If I've got you, right, Chuck, me and Angus are doing that, what are you saying to us?
Everything in first fill sherry, yeah?
It's part of the Edinburgh Whisky Company. I would agree with my boss.
But privately, we're in diggers, you're off the clock, and I'm saying, right, we're doing this, Chuck.
And I would just say, personally for me, I'd want to see some variety.
So you wouldn't go like, are you fucking stupid?
No, not unless they told me they didn't believe in finishes.
Yeah. That's a debate for another time. But
Yeah, but I think for like maturation, I mean, I like, personally, I like variety.
Yeah.
I also like to see how spirit does in different vessels. So I'm a big fan of refill. I like first fill. I like.
well,
sherry.
you mentioned finishing then. Talk about like, that's something that you offer, is re-racking is a phrase that you hear a lot of people talking about. And so basically, re-racking is the industry term for what then becomes a finish. Would that be correct? Potential part
I
of.
think when we were at Inchderny, if he described it as if the whiskey's in the new cask for 3 years, then it's a double maturation.
Yes.
Where the finish is something under that. And there's no
There's no legal
Well,
definition
what
for
we'll
it,
do is we'll fill everybody in on the inside joke. Is that Chuck and I, Jake Adcook and Greg Urquhart, after a fair few drams, had about an hour-long rammy about finishing, and that's a discussion point for a dedicated episode on that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that, you know, the end user, the drinker, on the bottle it will say finished in or extra double maturation or extra maturation, etc. That's what we see on the bottle, but what the wording, the technical term within the warehouse would be, it's been re-racked into something else. Which basically re-racking is effectively
liquid going out of one cask and then going into another.
into another cask,
Yeah.
which again is something that you guys will do fairly regularly. We've seen there's smaller casks. You can see down there, there's a couple of smaller ones, and that's something that a lot of people, again, is, you know, the smaller casks, maturation speeds up a little bit in smaller casks. I saw Woody put on the Facebook group.
Right.
He was someone was talking about his blood tub stuff. Woody is just an incredible. I mean, first of all, Woody and Megan, what they've done with Woodrow's just exceptional. And you've said that Woody's taught you a fair bit about, you know, gave you a bit of provision. So someone was actually talking about Woody's 5-year-old Loch Lomond and the 9-year-old Loch Lomond, which have both been finished in blood tub, or I think it's finished in blood tubs or matured anyway.
And these are really little casks. These are
Tiny
like
little casks. But Woody just said, it just comments on the thing. Everyone's talking up his product. Everyone's be like, oh, it's amazing liquid, it's this, that, and next thing. Woody just goes, I always think finishing in small casks is cheating. Because I suppose so what we know is this maturation happens with surface area, surface retention, am I right in saying that? Starting to sound like I know what I'm talking about here. But basically, the more surface the whiskey has to cover, the longer it takes for maturation, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, well, you think about the size of a butt.
Yeah.
There's only so much liquid that's actually touching the wood. The rest of it's really entrained in the middle.
Yeah.
And there's transfer going on. But the smaller the cask, the smaller amount of liquid there, and it's still touching there's more actually touching the wood, I guess.
So I suppose if someone said, like, right, I've got a hogshead 250 litres, it's been sat there for 5 or 6 years doing something, could somebody come to you guys and say, I want to take half of it out, okay, I want half of it put into, so I'm going to take half of it out, keep one half in the hogshead, and I'm going to get that other half of liquid, 175 litres or whatever, and I'm going to, 125 litres, sorry, and I'm going to stick, I want some of it to go into an octave, I want some of it to go into a barrique, I want, not a barrique, how big's a barrique?
225.
Aye, so you wouldn't put it all in, but I want some of it to go into a hogshead, an octave, a firkin, a blood tub, a quarter cask, or anything like that.
You're describing Greg, okay, yeah.
Right.
I'm always turning up with different size casks going, right, I've got some ratios here for you, do this and this and this.
And then, because then, I mean, I suppose the longer that you could leave it in, you could maybe add it back. Would you be able to add it back? Could you re-rack and then re-back rack?
Yeah, if you want to, you can.
Is that what something like?
Like marrying vessels together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so how would it work then? So let's just say I've taken half a hogshead out, right, and I've split it between 4 different octaves, shall we say?
Right.
Right, and I decide 1 octave I'm going to bottle straight away. because it's a cracker. After 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
The other octave I'm going to give a little bit longer, but the other 2 octaves, nothing really happens. Could I put those 2 octaves back in the same cask?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then could you call it single cask whiskey if you then bottled it from that?
No. Isn't that an interesting
Yeah.
question?
Yeah.
So, you know what the spirits drink verification scheme is?
No.
So that is a part of HMRC who basically are there to maintain the record-keeping standards of the or protected terms like Scotch whisky.
Yeah.
So in theory, if we've got a 3-year-old Stousha here, we should be able to trace that liquid all the way back through everyone's records, all the way back to Bunnahabhain Distillery and
Yep.
the grain.
So Stousha is
Heavily peated Bunnahabhain.
right. Okay.
And so everyone who opens a new warehouse, they have to be part of the scheme. So we had sort of them visiting, and they were just talking about bottling and things like that, and they were kind of quizzing me. And they said, so if someone wants to, bottle the whole cask, but into 2 different brands, and they want to put a single cask on the label, what do you think of that? And I was like,
So I mean,
One cask.
so it's one cask. Say it's this one here.
And it's going into
So let's say you had a little joint venture going on between Blind Summit and Rare Find, for example. Half of it labelled as Rare Find, half of it labelled as Blind Summit.
Yeah.
Is that the sort of thing you're being
Yeah,
asked about?
essentially, yeah.
2 different companies.
Can you call it single cask?
Would again, as a warehouse keeper, I have to approve the labels because it's my responsibility to maintain all the regulations. So would it be single cask? And I was like, well, yeah, the contents has come from one single cask, but they explained, well, that one half is not the entire cask. So although the liquid has come from one single cask, that bottling,
It's not a
that
full
label
single
representation
cask.
is not a full single cask.
Seriously.
But then they went, so what I would do is just take out half the liquid, put it into a smaller vessel for a day, and then bottle it, and then you've got a single cask of whiskey.
But then would you have to then say it's finished then?
No,
You don't have to
say
declare
everything's
it.
finished.
Yeah.
Oh, right enough. You don't have to declare.
You don't have to declare it. You can just say it's from a single cask.
Yeah.
Finishing, eh?
But it is interesting when we're talking about the size of the cask and what effect that has on maturation. We know temperature
Yeah.
has an effect on maturation. When we were going around with Chuck earlier, he was saying that the older stuff generally is towards the bottom because
Yeah.
it's colder in the warehouse at the bottom. At the top, we know heat rises.
It's more constant down
Younger
here, yeah.
stuff. So there's all these levers you can pull on. If you are managing casks, wanting to get different results, you
Yeah.
can slow things down, speed things up.
Well, the thing is,
You
as
know,
well, we talked about that.
It is fascinating.
I think it was when we were at Glen Murray and at Glen Farkless. Of course, when you do these tours, there's always a warehouse. It's usually a warehouse 1 or something like that. They take you in the oldest warehouse, it's the oldest stock, and usually in the corner, the coldest, dampest corner, they'll say like that's the oldest cask that we've got there.
Aye.
And of course, the 2 sides that everyone worries about is volume of liquid that's left. If something's been sitting there for 60 odd years, the angels share, which we'll talk about when we go further up. But also the big problem you've got is managing that ABV, because every year there will be a loss in liquid, but as we know, cask maturation, ABV drops.
Yeah.
So your biggest concern would be if you've got something sitting there from the 1960s or 70s and you're going, this is going to be a cracker, but then one day, I mean, how quickly could that happen? How quickly could because when it's 57%, losing a couple of percent a year, that's not a problem, is it? Because you're going to go, well, it just comes down to 56 or 55. But when it's 41, 42, suddenly you're going, right, we lose any more out of that, and that's a goner.
Yeah, it's to do with like relative volatility. So when it's much higher concentration of alcohol, it's much more volatile. The alcohol wants to escape. As you get lower and lower,
It slows down a
it
bit.
slows down. So you don't have to worry about it as much. And things like re-racking, I think it was Gareth Morgan, used to be up at D&M Winchester. He told me when you re-rack, you probably lose instantly about 4% ABV.
Really?
So if someone's there with their old,
Just
Oh,
by
God.
their old cask, but it's been in a bad wood, and they go, I'll just give it a turbo power with a sherry cask, and it's if it's a 43%, don't do it.
Don't, yeah.
just by rights of taking out the bung and moving
Yeah,
the
and it's-
liquid,
If it's
contact with the air
a wet
and
ex-sherry cask,
yeah.
that the sherry in there will be 12% or something. So the stuff that's in the actual wood will actually dilute it.
Right.
And then there's all the in-drink that happens.
Yeah.
And then just moving it about is
Yeah.
you'll
So
lose
even
some.
giving it more oxygen or more air
Yeah.
could cause that.
So
Right.
like
Well,
what we try and do is just put the cask on the rack and then just leave it until you have to touch it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Angus, right? So
Yes.
they often talk about the angel's share, right? And what we know
do,
is
yes.
that the evaporation happens, and what we tend to know is it goes up the way. So I think with how many casks do you say you've got here right now?
13,500.
13,500. So I reckon by just going up to the top end of this rack, we should be able to probably inhale about a dram's worth.
Oh, aye. Why
Right.
not?
Shall we go up and see how high this
Absolutely,
actually is, James? Right, okay, perfect. Right, Angus, clap
Yes.
us in. Okay, so if you're watching this episode on YouTube,
We're up in the rarefied air.
we are now up in the tropics of the warehouse. It's very warm up here. It's also very high, James.
Yeah.
You're a bit more comfortable with the height at the moment than I am.
You get used to it.
I have to admit, I don't want. I'll try and lean further. I guess you seem to be a bit more comfortable with the height.
I'm
at the
fine
moment.
with the
My
height.
head's
I'm
getting
got
a bit
used
dizzy,
to it.
actually. I don't think anyone's ever fainted on the podcast before, but I am poking my head out a little bit. I'm trying my hardest not to look down. I can see Chuck across from me, who's kind of looking after the camera. Chuck, you're up here pretty much most days then.
Yeah, fairly regularly.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it was particularly warm up here. I mean, it's warmer than it was down below, but it's still fairly.
No, but as we're
Cool.
recording this, it's just gone 8:05 in the evening. So yeah, it's cooler. It's a cooler day as well. I can imagine when this was James. This is quite warm.
Yeah, on the really hot days, I think the fluctuation up here can be quite
Yeah.
dramatic. The swings, but we've got so much ventilation, so there's a lot of air passing through anyway, so it doesn't get like too kind of stuffy.
Yeah, and I suppose as well is you don't need to store casks this high at the moment, so there aren't many casks. There are a few casks further behind us, Angus, where you've
And
mentioned.
there's some over there right up at the top as
Yeah,
well.
the bungholes are looking at the right direction as well. So I think Chuck's managed to do a good job of getting them in at 20 past and 22 in midday, Chuck. Well done.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, so how high up are we right now, James, for people who are listening?
I think the apex of the roof is about 16 metres, I think.
I mean, every time I look down, I get a really funny feeling in my feet.
That's why we added these extra kind of safety bars in, so
Yes.
people would stop leaning over, so you got something to rest your head on.
You'll also be pleased to know that I have smacked my head off one of these bars quite a few times as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine.
And
Yeah,
lucky you
it's-
had appropriate headgear on, so.
I mean,
there's
it's
no
a high,
Yeah.
it's a long way up. In terms of filling this space. I mean, first of all, how long has the warehouse been here?
First cast rolled in April 23.
So yeah, it's still. I mean,
It's pretty new.
yeah, it's still relatively new in terms of a building, and of course and a lot of work has to be done now. I'm going to. How often there's firewalls that have to separate. So what zone are we in right now?
This is zone 1.
Yeah.
And how many zones are there?
3 altogether. 3 cast storage zones and then the operating zone, which is where we were.
So you've got 4 zones, but 3 cask storing zones, and this
Yeah.
is zone. And then roughly per zone, you're just a straight up divide your
Well,
capacity by
this
3.
one, zone 1, has got the butt racking in as well.
Okay.
So we've got capacity about 528 butts, to be really exact. I wish we had a bit more.
Yeah.
It seems like a bit more of a trend now to use butts again. So a lot of people are, if they're getting a butt delivered, they'll break it down into 2 hoggies. Because a lot of people, that much whiskey is too much to handle, really.
Yeah.
But
And the best way to get up and down here, Chuck, is the bungee. That you do, because do you ever, when you're working, just take a minute, look down and go, Jesus Christ, I'm quite high up, or do you just switch off to the height that you're in just now?
I'm quite good with this. I mean, I grew up working on dryers on farms, and I have to say the racking here is, oh my God, it's like a dream in comparison to what I was working with before.
Yeah.
That was just like the idea of safety. There's actual safety here.
So for people listening, on a safety front, I think it's important, because if anyone's listening to this, I don't know what they think we're doing, whether we're just climbed ourselves up to the top of a racking system, or we're just sitting with our legs dangling off like those guys at the picture in New York at the Rockefeller Center, or whatever it is. For context here, there's dedicated stairwells inside the racking, and there's walkways as well between each cask rack, effectively.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about actually digging cask samples out, there'll be a time when you need to get the forklift to bring the cask down. But could you do a cask sample from up here?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously Chuck's better to answer this, but what we can do is, if you take one out above, then you can roll them all and make a gap down to the one below, and then just pop the bung out, take your sample. I know in a dunnage warehouse I've seen basically people just end up drilling a hole into the cask and putting a little like rubber tube in, which obviously you don't want to ruin the integrity of the cask. It's not our cask to drill into.
Of course.
So
I mean, that does make things a hell. And from an inspection point of view, I was kind of half laughing, chuckling to myself earlier, thinking to myself, I could just see sort of Chuck as this sort of almost like the prison warder walking up and down, patrolling the corridor here, just whistling to himself with a torch and twiddling some keys around his index finger as he walks up and just inspecting the cask. Because I suppose, how often are you supposed to inspect your racking to make sure that casks are all fine, everything's doing what it should? Well, you know, there's no leakages or anything like that.
Our policy is every Friday they'll do the leak walk. As much as you can. I mean, with this many casks, you can't spot every single drip. But the thing is, when you walk into a warehouse, you get that lovely kind of gentle aroma. You get the vanilla from the bourbon cask. If you smell like hard spirit, that's a problem because that's a leak. So using your nose, you can kind of find the place where the leak's coming from, and then it's a case of how far up do you have to go to spot the actual leaking cask.
Is it a case of just getting on your hands and knees and looking at the floor for any kind of damp spots as well?
Yeah. If there's a shiny spot on the floor, that means it's an active leak. It's dripping. If it's dull, then it's a leak that sealed itself up. Because that's as you know, casks are living, breathing things.
Because that'll happen. I mean, that's the thing. You've got this volume of casks here. There will be leaks that happen.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's just, and of course, as a cask owner, I suppose that's what you pay your insurance for in one sense, but also at the same time, that's just part of the rub of the green, isn't it? You know, you don't know. I mean, even when you speak to independent bottlers, you hear about buying parcels of casks, but very few, from what I understand from the people we've spoken to, very few people get an opportunity to come along, kick the cask, open the bung, take a dip out of it and see what it's like before they buy it. You sometimes buy on what you're seeing on the
original fill, You get some people buy a 10-year-old cask, and you're buying it on the fill details and just hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Some, if you're buying direct from distilleries, they'll tend to be like, oh, sorry, that's obviously half empty, and it's only 5 years old. We'll give you another one. From my own personal experience, I bought one of the first Ben Nevises that we bottled. Arrived at the warehouse, and it'd been leaking, and it was about half as much as we were expecting. But that for us as a new bottler was a bit devastating, but we just made the best of it as you could.
And there's no comeback on that. You can't say.
No, you store your casks at your own risk.
Yeah.
You can't fill the bottles up to half full.
Just put a disclaimer on the label. So that's insurance covers like catastrophic loss. So if we binned it off a forklift and broke it and it spilled on the floor, then insurance covers that. Or if a hoop pops in the racking, which rusty ones do. And it just empties itself over the weekend, then that's an insurable thing, as far as my understanding is. But a slow leak, no one's going to, even look at that and entertain an insurance claim.
Really?
So that's why we do our checks, because the last thing we want is to have to report to someone that the cask was leaked empty and it was on our watch.
Yeah. And you hear horror stories from, independent bottlers that talk about the fact that we bought a parcel and the casks arrived and it was maybe 10 years old, and basically the wood that it's been in has been doing absolutely nothing. So you're getting a cask of 8 years old, but actually it's probably had about 2 years worth of the equivalent of maturation involved in that. I suppose the benefit is you can salvage that by re-racking and putting into other things to pull it back. But again, that changes everything, because it might be 8 years old in age, but flavour profile and stuff like that, you're not getting.
Yeah, and if you're hoping to bottle that relatively soon, then that's set you back, 1-2 years.
Right. So we normally ask our guests for their what 3 drams, any 3 whiskies that have any 3 story associated with them. You've been on the podcast before, so we've asked you this already, but I would like to ask you, seeing as we're in a bonded warehouse that you are the operations manager of, for your what 3 casks. Now, for caveat here, that could be anything. That could be, like you've just talked about your Ben Nevis there, any cask that you've come across, or even that's sitting in here, or that you've bottled that has some sort of story or some sort of meaning to you in it? So, James Zorab, what are your what 3 casks?
Ooh, well, just out of pure nerdiness, we had a couple of Arbikis arrive. They're like the rye, or one's a spirit drink. So I messaged Kirsty asking her about it, and it's just absolutely fascinating what they're able to do with that, and having one in the warehouse that it was really incredible. What other ones? We had some really good Woodford Reserve, like bourbon barrels come in, and being able to split, say a butt into one of them and then a Buffalo Trace, and just watch how they just go on different journeys.
So you split a butt?
Yeah, the butt of the same liquid. One went into Buffalo Trace, first of all bourbon barrel, the other one Woodford Reserve, and just watching how the whiskey just starts going on in its own different journey.
Really?
I think that's the kind of thing Chuck was talking about earlier. It's just, we're whiskey people, and that, I find that absolutely fascinating, how a cask can just go off, even it's technically, it's first full bourbon, but it's just 2 different very, very amazing specimens. And then I think when we got our first, Springbank's always been quite a dear distillery to me because it was my dad's favourite. So when we got our first cask of Springbank rolled in, that was pretty amazing.
Really?
It was in 92.
92 cask.
And that's the first time I went, oh, I really love it. We just have a wee nose of that. So whenever we're re-gauging, I'll put my nose in. Obviously we can't try it, but yeah, it's a pretty special moment, just getting some really kind of rare stuff in here as well.
There you go. Chuck, any casks from your own point of view?
Really cool to see. Actually, it was a Blind Summit bottling. They got that waxy Dahlia in.
Lovely dram, actually. We had that in the pod.
Was really, really cool to see and learn about. And there was also red wine Mortlax that are owned by Glen Rare Fine Guys. They've done a couple of releases of it already in the past, but these casks are still maturing, and still seeing the colour on some of them is just insane.
Yeah.
And even taking some of them and doing re-racks and putting them into, refill bourbon to see how that changes them in time as well.
Wow.
And very special distillery for me as well. But there was some 1990 Little Mill arrived.
Wow, really?
Just getting to see those casks, and again knows those casks, like liquid history, and a great year. The year of my birth, 1990. So just getting to see and handle stuff like that, and like knowing that you're getting to put it in places that it could be there for years and years and years. Could be there for 6 months and someone's going to bottle it, but still just really cool to see and interact with.
Well, guys, I think we've kind of come to the point where
this is all you can take.
Graham's got altitude sickness.
I really
come to the point Graham needs to descend. It has genuinely been incredible. I'm going to toggle the camera a little bit here to try and give people the thing is there to give people the scale of how high up we are. There'll be some other videos associated with this. Get onto the YouTube channel to see. But listen, thank you so much to everybody who has been involved in the Whisky Stories podcast over the last few weeks. Our Facebook group, as we're recording, is gone off. It's fantastic. We've got over 470 members at the point of recording, and that could go even higher. We drew our winners earlier today, so well done to those guys who won their Whisky Stories 25-year-old blend. Fantastic. Thank you so much to everybody who shared. Pass the pod as much as you possibly can, guys. It's great to have so many listeners, so many people that are getting involved. Our weekend dram roll call, Angus, once again, just been brilliant. People just getting involved from all over the world, and more music as well. Getting people
Absolutely,
people getting involved musically. We've had Rugby Shed, Lions Rugby Shed. We've had loads and loads of things. It's fantastic, and James as well. Thank you so much for inviting us along.
Pleasure.
It's been great to come along to this. As this goes out, we will be gearing up for Whisky Fringe, but of course before this goes out on Thursday. Tomorrow, if you're listening to this on the Thursday, we have our Thompson Brothers Indie Bottler Spotlight, this sellout. I think we put some more tickets on there. Hopefully at the time of recording, we'll get those all sold off as well. But it's going to be a cracking weekend. We've got Thompson Brothers on Friday night, and then of course we are working the stand for Glenmore Spirits Rare Find at the Whisky Fringe. If you're listening to this before you head to Whisky Fringe, if you're coming on the Sunday, come and look for us, seek us out.
Yeah, come and say hello.
Code word frozen cream eggs, and you'll get a healthy dram. Bearing in mind, Angus is on the pours, so I don't know if Greg Urquhart has put enough liquid aside for the whole Sunday with Angus on the pours. Maybe they'll get somebody who knows what they're doing pouring the drams, and Angus and I could just talk about them.
Yep.
But it's going
Come
to
and fill your boots.
it's going to be a great weekend. Yeah, like I say, give us 5 stars, pass the pod on. The more we get, the more people want to talk to us about whiskey, and lots of other exciting things happening. James, thank you very much.
No worries.
Genuinely my legs are a little bit getting ready to go here. I'm going to sort of head back down the stairs, Angus. It's been great. We've done it again, a Whisky warehouse. We are standing at the top of the tallest whisky racking in Europe. Certainly in Europe.
100%.
Yeah, whisky stories only going up in the world.
Absolutely.
There we go. Cheers, guys. Slanjavar. Thank you.
Cheers.